Hello everyone and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. Hope reverses the threat to the Carter romance, while Steffi pushes for Daphne's return to Los Angeles. Hope Logan will lose it at the possibility of her romance with Carter Walton being jeopardized since Steffi Forrester would push Daphne Rose's return to Los Angeles. Steffi will get in touch with Daphne in Paris and provide a proposal over the week of June 16th to 20th. Steffi hopes to rectify Daphne's sudden departure from town and return her to Los Angeles as soon as possible. Daphne was not only Steffi's buddy but also contributed a great deal with her knowledge of perfumes. Steffi might believe Daphne needs to be in LA for what she has in mind after seeing the possibility of some new partnerships. According to BNB teasers, Steffi will contact Daphne and attempt to persuade her that Los Angeles is the right place for her. When Hope learns about Steffi's activities, she will undoubtedly disapprove. Hope will soon receive updates regarding Steffi's contact with Daphne and this plan for a comeback in Los Angeles. It goes without saying that Hope will object to Steffi's move and believe she is inviting further difficulty. As far as Hope is concerned, Daphne's absence has been beneficial, so she won't be happy about Steffi pushing her to make a comeback. Steffi can counter that it's all business and mention that Carter has already shown that he prefers Hope to Daphne. Steffi may believe that since Hope and Carter are now engaged, Hope should feel safe in her relationship because of the commitment. Nevertheless, the prospect of Daphne hearing what Steffi has to say and returning to town will worry Hope. Although Steffi's plan may not succeed, Hope will be agitated about the Daphne news and will likely argue with Steffi as a result. If things become too heated, Hope and Steffi might need to remind themselves of their truce. In light of what Liam Spencer is facing, Steffi and Hope decided to set aside their disagreement. Hope and Steffi may eventually return to more amicable territory, at least for the time being, even though the entire Daphne issue raises the possibility of rekindling their rivalry. Steffi Forrester had always been a force in the world of fashion and fragrance, but this time, her instincts were pulling her toward a bold move that she knew might rock more than just the business world. It might upend the fragile peace that had settled over her personal life, especially where Hope Logan was concerned. Sitting behind her office desk at Forrester Creations, Steffi toyed with the idea that had been swirling in her head for days, weeks even. Ever since Daphne Rose had left Los Angeles, the absence of her sharp mind and intoxicating vision in the perfume world had left a noticeable gap. Daphne was more than a fragrance expert, she was a muse, a trendsetter, and a woman whose talent and charm had left its mark on Forrester's most ambitious product lines. But Daphne had also been something else, a threat to Hope's happiness. And Steffi knew that rekindling Daphne's presence in LA would not come without consequences, especially now that Hope and Carter Walton were engaged. Still, business was business, and in Steffi's mind, the potential that Daphne represented couldn't be ignored. So she made the call. From Paris, Daphne answered with her usual crisp professionalism, but there was a curiosity in her tone when Steffi hinted at opportunities that could only be realized if she returned to Los Angeles. That seed of intrigue was enough to start the momentum. Steffi pitched the idea of an exciting new fragrance line, one that married Forrester's classic elegance with Daphne's avant-garde sensibilities, and she emphasized how Daphne's name could be central to the brand's success. But beneath the corporate polish of her proposal, Steffi's motives weren't entirely free of personal dimension. She missed her friend, yes, but she also wanted to remind everyone, including Hope, that Steffi Forrester wasn't going to let fear dictate innovation. When word of Steffi's outreach reached Hope, the fallout was swift. Hope had worked hard to find stability with Carter after the emotional devastation that came with the final unraveling of her long and complicated relationship with Liam Spencer. Carter had been her rock, her romantic reset, and in Daphne's absence, Hope had felt secure in the knowledge that no lingering rivalries from Carter's past would come to threaten what they were building. But now, the very woman Carter had once shared an undeniable connection with was being summoned back, by Steffi, no less. Hope's temper simmered beneath the surface until it finally boiled over. She confronted Steffi in the executive suite, demanding to know why she was inviting chaos into their lives yet again. Steffi, cool and composed as ever, insisted it was purely business. Daphne is a creative genius, she said. This has nothing to do with you or Carter. But Hope wasn't buying it. She knew all too well how Steffi operated, how even her most well-meaning intentions had a way of unsettling the delicate balances in their lives. Steffi argued that Carter had chosen Hope, made his decision, and that nothing Daphne did would change that. But Hope wasn't so sure. She remembered the way Carter had looked at Daphne, the heat between them that had never fully been extinguished. The very idea of Daphne walking back into the Forrester offices, sharing closed-door meetings with Carter, laughing at inside jokes they once shared, it all made Hope's heart race with anxiety. Even as she clung to her engagement ring, she couldn't shake the feeling that Steffi was opening a door to the past that should have stayed shut. Meanwhile, Daphne herself was wrestling with her own hesitations. Paris had given her clarity, distance, a chance to rebuild after her emotionally tumultuous exit from LA. The pain of seeing Carter move on had been sharp, but with time, she had buried those feelings deep beneath her work. But the call from Steffi stirred something. Not just the thrill of a new project, but the possibility of unresolved business, not only in the boardroom but in her heart. As she boarded the plane to Los Angeles, she told herself it was just for the job, just for the chance to redefine her legacy in the perfume world. But in the deepest corners of her heart, she knew the truth. A part of her wanted to see Carter again, to find out if the spark still lived between them. Hope, growing more frantic by the day, began to question her own position at Forrester. Was she being pushed out? Was Steffi manipulating things behind the scenes to chip away at her confidence, her standing, even her relationship? Brooke Logan, ever the protective mother, urged Hope to confront her feelings head-on, not to let Steffi dictate her emotions or her future. But Hope couldn't help the dread that settled over her every time she imagined Daphne in Carter's orbit again. And when she saw the glint in Carter's eye upon hearing Daphne was returning, the mixture of surprise, nostalgia, maybe even excitement, it was almost too much to bear. Steffi, for her part, found herself caught in a web of her own making. The lines between personal and professional blurred in ways she hadn't anticipated. She began to question whether her push to bring Daphne back was entirely about the company, or if part of her wanted to see how Hope would handle a little pressure. The truce they had so carefully constructed in the aftermath of Liam's fallout began to splinter. Heated boardroom debates spilled into tense private conversations, and before long, Ridge and Thomas were pulled into the drama as well, forced to choose between loyalty to family and the smooth operation of Forrester Creations. In the midst of it all, Daphne finally arrived. Her presence was like a spark to dry kindling. Carter, surprised to see her in person, was courteous but visibly thrown. Old feelings resurfaced in unexpected ways as they shared space once again, working closely on the fragrance pitch Steffi had envisioned. For her part, Daphne remained professional, but her smiles lingered a beat too long, and her eyes occasionally drifted to Carter in moments of quiet reflection. Hope noticed. She noticed everything. Every shared glance, every touch that could be explained away as incidental but felt charged with history. Her insecurity grew by the hour, and her once unshakable confidence in her relationship with Carter began to waver. When she finally confronted him about Daphne, Carter was honest. He admitted that there was a time when he'd wondered what might have been, but he insisted those feelings were in the past. "You're my future," he told Hope. "You're the one I chose." But Hope couldn't shake the fear that choice might someday be undone. The final straw came during a launch event where the new fragrance concept was being unveiled. Daphne was radiant, glowing in her element, and Carter stood beside her, praising her vision in a speech that Hope found a little too effusive. When the camera stopped flashing and the press retreated, Hope pulled Steffi aside. Their truce was officially on pause. "You knew this would happen," she hissed. "You knew bringing her back would put my relationship at risk." Steffi stared at her, eyes narrowing. "I brought her back because she's brilliant. I'm not going to sabotage this company just to make you feel more comfortable." "Comfortable?" Hope snapped. "You've never wanted me comfortable. You've always wanted me out." The tension between them was palpable, nearly suffocating. But just as quickly as it rose, it began to deflate under the weight of their shared history. Both women remembered too well what unchecked rivalry had cost them in the past: family unity, emotional peace, even their own senses of self. In a rare moment of quiet understanding, they backed away from the edge. "This isn't over," Hope said quietly. "No," Steffi replied. "It's just beginning." But beneath their tension was a mutual recognition that neither wanted an all-out war, not now, not when their families were so intertwined, not when the company they both loved was at stake. For now, the conflict would simmer, unresolved. As Daphne made her way back into LA society, Carter struggled with buried feelings, and Hope and Steffi tried to coexist in a world that was constantly pulling them into new rivalries and old wounds. And as the sun set over Los Angeles, casting golden light across the Forrester estate, one truth was clear: the return of Daphne Rose wasn't just a twist in the business narrative, it was a reckoning. And in the days and weeks to come, love, loyalty, and ambition would be tested in ways none of them saw coming. Hayes is the target, and his jealousy reaches Daphne. Finnegan, Steffi Forrester, will attempt to persuade Daphne Rose to return to Los Angeles. Hayes Forrester Finnegan is approached covertly by Luna Nozawa. Ridge Forrester is envious as Nick Marone kisses Brooke Logan in the meanwhile. The kiss of Nick Marone. Let's begin with Nick, who totally surprises Brooke when he returns to Los Angeles. Brooke is shocked to see who she is seeing when Nick arrives. The blonde's eyes enlarge and her jaw falls. They won't be merely catching up, though. Nick is there in an attempt to court his ex-lover. Although the two kiss, is Brooke truly prepared to let go of Ridge? Speaking of Ridge, he talks to Taylor Hayes about Nick and Brooke. Ridge informs Taylor in a sneak peek that he has never been fond of the man. This, though, seems more like jealousy than worry. Targeted, Hayes Forrester Finnegan. After that, Steffi and John Finnegan are spied on by Luna. Soon, Luna will have a chance to spend a few minutes by herself with Hayes. The youngster is playing in the yard, but his parents had to leave for a little moment. During that little period, Luna calls the youngster by name and gains his trust. Luna then presents him with a present. Wait until Finn and Steffi discover it. Getting to Daphne Rose. The week of June 16th. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful indicate that Steffi makes the decision to get in touch with Daphne. But Hope Logan is adamantly against it. Hope may be concerned about Daphne returning for Carter Walton. But perhaps the perfume line is more to blame. This might seriously jeopardize Carter and Hope's engagement. June 16th, 2025, week. Additionally, fans will witness Brooke confiding in Katie Logan. The brunette will have strong opinions after Brooke admits that Nick kissed her and wants her back. It won't be just Katie who has problems. Ridge and Taylor appear to be debating the man as well. Be sure to keep checking back for any updates on Will Spencer, Electra Forrester, and Bill Spencer. The sun hovered low over the Forrester estate, casting long shadows across the lush lawn where young Hayes Forrester Finnegan giggled and chased butterflies. His innocent joy, however, was a stark contrast to the storm of deception, secrets, and heartache brewing beneath the golden skies of Los Angeles. Luna Nozawa, hiding behind the tall hedges, observed Hayes with an intensity that defied her usual poise. Her motives were cloaked in mystery, her presence unnoticed, her breath shallow as she waited for the perfect moment. When Steffi Forrester Finnegan and her husband, Dr. John Finnegan, stepped briefly inside to grab sunscreen and answer a phone call, Luna saw her opportunity. With calculated grace, she emerged from the greenery like a whisper on the wind. Hayes turned and smiled as if sensing familiarity in the stranger. "Hi Hayes," Luna said softly, kneeling to his level. His eyes lit up. "You know my name?" She nodded and extended a small, wrapped object, a miniature stuffed lion holding a red heart. "I brought you something special," she said with a false warmth coating her voice like syrup. Hayes hesitated, then reached out, taking the gift. It wasn't just a gesture, it was a mark. A message. A threat. A beginning. Elsewhere in LA, Steffi wasn't yet aware of Luna's dangerous curiosity. She had her mind on a different mission, one that threatened to send shockwaves through the already fragile web of alliances in the Forrester world. Daphne Rose, the enigmatic designer who had left town after a tumultuous falling out with Carter Walton, had been living quietly upstate. Steffi, driven by both a strategic instinct and personal loyalty, decided it was time to bring Daphne back into the fold. She picked up the phone and dialed, heart pounding, knowing this choice would ignite drama on every front. "Daphne," she said when the line connected. "We need you back in Los Angeles. Forrester isn't the same without your vision. And neither am I." Daphne was quiet on the other end, but the silence buzzed with promise. Yet not everyone shared Steffi's enthusiasm. Hope Logan, overhearing the plan, erupted with fury. "Are you out of your mind?" she barked. "Daphne coming back could ruin everything, Carter, our engagement, the entire perfume line. She's not just a risk, she's a ticking time bomb." Steffi remained calm, but her eyes narrowed. "Sometimes, you have to take risks to save what matters most," she replied coolly, her voice steel under silk. Meanwhile, the past returned with a vengeance at Brooke Logan's front door. The knock was casual, but the moment she opened it, time seemed to freeze. Nick Marone, salt-kissed and smirking, stood there like a ghost from another life. "Hello, Logan," he said with that signature rasp. Brooke's jaw dropped. "Nick?" she gasped. "What are you doing here?" The reunion was charged, old wounds bleeding into new possibilities. As they spoke, memories of their passionate past resurfaced, laced with laughter and regret. Nick made it clear, he wasn't just visiting. He wanted her back. One moment they were reminiscing about yachting in the Mediterranean, the next, his lips were on hers. A long, slow kiss that lingered like perfume on the skin. Brooke didn't pull away. Not at first. But when she did, it was with confusion written across her face. "Nick? I'm not sure if I'm ready," she whispered. "What about Ridge?" Nick scoffed gently. "Ridge had his chance. You deserve a man who won't let you go." The kiss would become the match that lit Ridge's fury, and exposed his deeply buried jealousy. Across town, Ridge Forrester was already feeling the tremors. He sat with Taylor Hayes, brow furrowed, fists clenched. "Nick Marone? Really?" he growled. "I've never liked that guy." Taylor raised an eyebrow, her calm demeanor in contrast to his stormy one. "You sure this isn't just jealousy talking?" Ridge shifted uncomfortably. "No. Yes. I don't know. It's not about that. Brooke needs someone stable." Taylor smiled knowingly. "So you want to be her stability again?" Ridge stood and began pacing. "I don't know what I want," he admitted. "But I do know I can't stand the idea of Nick kissing her. He's not right for her. He never was." The jealousy was unmistakable, even if Ridge tried to mask it as concern. Back at the Forrester mansion, Steffi and Finn discovered Hayes playing in the yard, happily clutching the lion Luna had given him. "Where did you get that?" Steffi asked. Hayes beamed. "A nice lady gave it to me." Finn's eyes went wide. "What lady?" Panic set in as Steffi scanned the yard for any sign of an intruder. "This is bad," Finn muttered. "We've got to call security." Someone targeted Hayes. What began as a simple day in the sun had turned into a terrifying revelation. Someone had breached their sanctuary. And worse, they had gotten close to their child. Meanwhile, Brooke confided in Katie Logan about the kiss. "It wasn't just a kiss," Brooke said, voice trembling. "It felt real. Like it used to." Katie's eyes narrowed. "Are you forgetting how it ended with Nick? How torn you were?" Brooke shook her head. "I don't know what to feel. Ridge is still in my heart. But Nick, he brings something out in me." Katie didn't mince words. "Don't let a kiss undo years of healing. Think about what you really want, not just who shows up at your door." Back in Ridge's world, he couldn't shake the image of Brooke in Nick's arms. He called Thomas, needing a distraction, but instead found more chaos. "Dad, you need to talk to Steffi. She's reaching out to Daphne." Ridge sighed. "What is it with this week?" But inside, he knew, it wasn't just about Daphne or Hayes or Luna or the perfume line. It was about change, about old flames resurfacing, about new threats to the Forrester legacy and the unrelenting gravity that pulls everyone back to each other, no matter how far they stray. In a side plot, Will Spencer returned home early from prep school and walked in on Electra Forrester arguing with Bill Spencer. "You don't control me, Dad," Electra shouted, storming off. Will stood in stunned silence. "Is this what I'm coming home to?" he asked quietly. Bill turned, visibly shaken. "We're just trying to figure things out." Will shook his head. "You never change." At the heart of everything remained that gift, a lion, sweet and harmless on the outside, but inside, a silent declaration of war. Luna's reasons remained unclear, but her actions were bold. Hayes had been touched by something darker than he could understand. And soon, everyone in Los Angeles would feel the ripple. Steffi, now suspicious and alert, assigned private security to guard their home. "Whoever did this wanted us to know they were here," she told Finn. "And they got exactly what they wanted, our fear." Finn nodded, jaw tight. "We protect our son. No matter what." As the week of June 16 unfolded, secrets began to bleed into the open. Hope clashed with Carter over Daphne. Brooke was torn between nostalgia and reality. Ridge grappled with his pride. Taylor watched quietly, her heart still caught between logic and longing. Daphne, meanwhile, packed her bags. Whether to return to Steffi or confront her past, she didn't say. But her return was imminent. And when she did step back into the City of Angels, she would bring with her a reckoning. The kiss. The gift. The call. All of it intertwined like threads in the Forrester tapestry, elegant and chaotic, each detail stitched with desire, betrayal, and love. The game had shifted. And everyone was in play.